Welcome to the first episode of a short series I'm titling Sunset But Not Forgotten. For those unaware, gear sunsetting is when a new maximum power cap is given to gear. In this case, the Not Forgotten is capped at 1060 power, which means that next season, and for the rest of Destiny, it will be unable to be used and be competitive in endgame activities. And that's precisely the topic of this series. I'm going to talk about weapons of the past that are being sunset and unable to carry forward, weapons that I find to be my favorite or just impactful in some way and I think need to be historically preserved. Speaking of history, what you see on screen right now isn't the Not Forgotten I remember. Wait, that's not full auto? No, this is.
You're in first place.
My personal story with Not Forgotten involves maybe my favorite memory of the entire Destiny franchise. And it goes all the way back to when the weapon was originally released in Forsaken. For the vast majority of players, the first week of an expansion is important for leveling up as much as they can to have the best chance of completing the future raid, the one that would release a week later, called The Last Wish. Of course, me and my friends wanted to make a run at a world's first raid attempt, and we took a slight break to go acquire the Luna's Howl hand cannon, which you get at 2100 in the competitive playlist. As it turns out, the competitive playlist, if you didn't lose, was a really fast way to rank up your character relative to other activities. So we started pushing for 5500 and we were absolutely on fire in terms of teamwork and overall playing well. Though it was extremely disheartening to watch console content creators get matches instantly while we're waiting 20 plus minutes for a match just to have people avoid us and DDoS us. So obviously after not playing for anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour as we got our bearings together, we'd have to play, cold, a tournament team. Some of the best teams in the entire world, if not the best team in the world in your opinion. We'd have to play them constantly on the way up to 5500. And we prevailed. We managed to become the first team to acquire the Not Forgotten on PC, and we decided to take it one step further by also going hard in the paint preparing for the raid. When I say we didn't sleep, I am not joking. Sleep was not an option. We took naps at the most. So it would be 18 hours on, 6 hours off. Another 18 hours on, 3 hours off. 18 hours on, 4 hours off, etc. while we leveled for this raid. We were so sleep deprived that when The Last Wish finally launched, we're like, alright guys, let's give it our best shot. You don't even know the half of it though. The Forsaken campaign was gated by a public event that you had to do in order to finish the rest of the campaign, therefore unlocking your powerful rewards, which are used to level your character. And the best way to level is to level one character at a time so that your weapons are the highest power level possible so that you can transfer your weapons to your new character so that they have a higher base power level and then do it all over again. By the time we were on our third character having to go through the campaign, it was a make or break moment. It was either we get this public event within a minute or two or we just don't get to do the raid. That is how close we cut it. As fate would have it, I ended up with one of the highest power levels, if not the highest power level, going into the Last Wish raid. And Not Forgotten ended up clutching the first encounter. We used all of our power ammo, and it came down to Primary versus Callie, the first boss. And all my teammates started dropping like flies due to the mechanics or getting shot at or something, and I am in that last man situation, hammering away with Not Forgotten at this boss. And for those who didn't know, Not Forgotten used to be an absolute monster in PvE because of the Magnificent Howl perk, which works as follows. By landing 2 precision hits within a short duration of each other, you enable Magnificent Howl, which gives you increased body shot damage and increased precision damage. If you kept up precision damage from there, you would keep the damage bonus. So in other words, as long as I kept shooting Callie in the face, I was doing the most damage out of any PvE primary, and it made the difference. From there, the rest of the raid went pretty smooth until we got to the vault. At that point, sleep deprivation hit me like a truck, so I let my brother fill in. He substituted, he's the real MVP, and I took a nap while the bigger brains in my fire team helped figure out mechanics. Once they had that sorted, we made it through the vault, went to the final boss, and then sleep deprivation hit everyone like a truck. Remember, not only were we tired from the day before and barely were leveled in time, we were tired from the entire week of grinding comp, as well as keeping our finger on the pulse of a prime engram glitch and weighing our options as to what we should do moving forward, because we knew every team was going to abuse this and we didn't want to play at a disadvantage. Needless to say, we were really tired, and as the 24-hour mark passed and we were moving into the 30-hour mark, we had to make a decision as a team as to how we were going to complete the raid to qualify for a trophy jacket. Some agreed to finish the raid as soon as possible and woke up in the next couple hours after a nap, and that is when another content creator, Lulu, check out her content, she's amazing, she substituted for me and got that completion knocked out with the boys. So I am so proud of my team for that entire week of effort, and thank you, Lulu, for filling in. It seriously wouldn't have been possible without you. So enough about PvE, we all understand Not Forgotten was great there, but what about PvP? Turns out Not Forgotten was one of the best, if not the best. It added consistency to hand cannons at a level at which we never had before, and that felt really good. Remember, the Forsaken expansion brought with it special weapons that changed the time to kill from primaries killing in well over a second to having instant kill capabilities all the time. And this meant primaries had to kill faster, so a 150 RPM hand cannon before Forsaken would kill in 4 shots. After Forsaken, it killed in 3 shots. Even with that TTK shift, special weapons still ran the Crucible. That was until Not Forgotten. It killed so fast at a 180 RPM that could 3-tap, or under special circumstances, 2-tap. It put the whole meta in check. We revolved around this holy trinity meta of having Last Word at close range, Not Forgotten at medium, and Ace of Spades or a pulse rifle at long distance. Don't confuse this with me saying Forsaken meta was balanced. It wasn't. But weapon-wise, there was balance among those 3 hand cannons. Like, imagine if the 600 RPM auto rifle buff existed in that era. It probably would have played out pretty nicely. But then again, One-Eyed Mask took a lot of gun skill out of the Crucible, because if you got shot while wearing this Titan exotic helmet, it would mark them through the wall on your screen, and if you secured the kill, not only would you get your health back, you would get an overshield. Not only would you get an overshield, you would get increased damage to your gun, making something like Ace of Spades an absolute menace and arguably better than Not Forgotten, because combining the damage buff with the Ace of Spades Memento Mori, you could 2-tap people way more consistently than you could set up Not Forgotten. The crazy thing is special weapons since then have only become better and easier to use, and primary weapons have become worse. For reference, a 3-tap at 180 RPM is a lot better for dealing with a rushing shotgun user than a 3-tap at 150 RPM. But what about Ace of Spades? What about a 2-tap at 140 RPM? What about Last Word? What about a 4-tap to the body at a 0.8 time to kill? These are nuts. I'm saying all this to set the stage as to say that obviously because it was good, Not Forgotten was used a lot, and I think it got an undeserving nerf. It was later changed into a 150 RPM archetype with the Magnificent Howl perk neutered. Instead, it should have happened the way I suggested back in the day. Make Not Forgotten an exotic, make Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten have an altered Magnificent Howl where body shot damage no longer gave enhanced damage. Instead, make the precision hit 90 something instead of 131. If that was the case, I feel that Not Forgotten would have been received by the community as the skill cannon that it actually was. You see, among the lower skill brackets of PvP, a lot of people spam the Not Forgotten, whereas at the top level, you pace your shots and play it between cover and even hit one person, then run to the other side of a wall and shoot another person to bank Magnificent Howl to use in a more appropriate situation. This was the skill gap of the weapon. Unlike other hand cannons, you didn't have inherent in-air accuracy. So this gun was as good as you could make it, and that is what set it apart. That is what allowed it to have such a wild skill gap compared to other things. Of course, I do think that those suggested nerfs I was just talking about made more sense, and it would even make it play better at the casual level. Again, I say, imagine having the Gnawing Hunger, the 600 RPM menace right now, except back in that era. You know how easy Gnawing Hunger is to use? Do you think that given the choice of an exotic, nerfed, Not Forgotten, or a nerfed Luna's Howl, that people would use that over the ease of use of Gnawing Hunger with a similar time to kill, even with the perk activation? I think people would have chose the Gnawing Hunger, which would have meant that we would have had more primaries to put special weapons in check. But as fate would have it, as we all know the story, Not Forgotten was nerfed into a 150 RPM, still a precision hand cannon, but 150 RPM with Magnificent Howl not affecting lethality. I made a lot of good points and intelligent hot takes back in the day, but I made one major error in that era, and that was saying that the Destiny community might like competitive. I was so wrong. Now, I personally enjoyed competitive. I personally gave it the thumbs up. I like ranked PvP. I like matching opponents who are good at the game, and they get a certain rank because they're good at the game. I like playing to win. I like when there's a skill gap. The Destiny community doesn't like any of that. And so when Bungie ties the reward of a very strong weapon behind a competitive playlist, that creates a giant problem. And I severely underestimated how much of a problem that actually was. At the time, I saw going through the comp playlist and obtaining Not Forgotten as a rite of passage, the obtaining the battle rifle of Halo, but in Destiny. That wasn't the case. That's not how it was received. If I could use my current knowledge to advocate back then, I would have said just give it away. Don't even lock it behind comp. Make only cosmetic variations of Not Forgotten and future pinnacle weapons behind comp. Don't make the weapon itself. But what's done is done. There's no changing it. Me and my friends reminisce and look back at this era, and we call it the Good Luck and Forsaken era. This is because we originally played Destiny 2 with double primary, slow time to kill, focus on objectives, limited abilities, where team play and gun skill was king. That is what won matches, and the Destiny community did not like that. They couldn't come to terms with the fact that that is why they were losing, so they deluded themselves into thinking special weapons, movement speed, etc. was the key to making Destiny feel more like Destiny, or in their words, make it feel more skillful. And sure, you can think that. I'm not going to argue with you. There are different types of skill in first-person shooters. I align most with the Halo formula. That's fine if you disagree with that. But the reason that we call it Good Luck and Forsaken is because there was a community perception that somehow this was all going to change. And they would tell us, good luck using those kind of gun skill, teamwork heavy strategies in Forsaken. There was actually a term at the time which every competitive first-person shooter community would find laughable. The Destiny community said, and I quote, that there was a team shot meta. I'm not joking. They said, good luck in Forsaken. Implied, good luck team shotting in Forsaken. So we started team shotting with instant kill weapons, and it worked even better. The long story short is I showed up. Even despite having arguably more success in the special weapon meta, I still preferred a primary-centric meta, which is why Not Forgotten being nerfed should have been a warning sign to me that times were a-changin' and the Destiny that I liked might never exist again. But that doesn't mean Destiny can't be fun or enjoyable. As we know, chaotic, bombastic fun can exist in Destiny PvP. But that level of balance between arena shooter and Mario Kart-esque chaos, everyone's going to have a different idea of what that perfect balance looks like. But the one thing I think we can all agree on is that we all pour one out for our boy Not Forgotten because it lost 40 RPM on top of getting sunset. So that ties into the entire point of this series. Let's remember Not Forgotten at its best and try not to forget about it at its worst. It's still going to be used. This is still a guaranteed drop hand cannon from the competitive playlist. So for new characters trying to acquire things from the competitive playlist, this is still going to be a bread and butter option. You also have to consider that the Magnificent Howl range boost might be very good on a 140 RPM, where range matters a lot more on hand cannons. So even though Not Forgotten is getting sunset, I still think it will have a lot of use cases. There are some Destiny players like me that will not touch a weapon if it's not able to be used in endgame PvP, because why even put the effort into it if I can't take that same learning into a playlist that matters? But then there are other players, and I'm not saying this is wrong, that use the best tool for the job no matter what. And for these players, Not Forgotten might be the best option, even despite new things coming in the future. So to summarize and recap everything I've said so far, the Not Forgotten came out in the Forsaken era and has remained as one of the most iconic hand cannons in just all of Destiny. I have some of my best memories with Not Forgotten, and there are some sour memories with Not Forgotten as well. Overall, it may be sunset, but it surely will not be forgotten.